Welcome to another episode of Homefront, where we give you that exciting, informative information and we make sure that you know everything you need to know in terms of the pandemic, in terms of home care, in terms of children's safety. I'm talking about children's safety. Today, we're going to touch a bit on home safety, especially if you have a household with kids. We are joined again by Dr. Vidya Ramcharitar, Maharaj. Yes. Right. So Dr. Vidya is the head of the department, the pediatric emergency department at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex at Mount Hope. Right? Mm-hmm. And Dr. Vidya, the last time you were here, we were talking about the home kit in terms of the safety kit, right?
The first aid
kit.
The
first aid kit. Today we want to go in terms of home safety, making sure that the household that the children are in is safe. Have you all been seeing any cases of ingestion of children consuming, let's say, tablets, poison or stuff, since they're home and they're a bit curious?
I think even before they were home and in online school, we would still see. I can't say that there's been an increase in the numbers, but throughout the year, we would always see it. Usually when it was the holiday times, yes, because Christmas holidays, the adults are busy, they're out and the children, they bake and everything, and the children have their wits upon themselves, then yes. So we did have at one point in time, one Christmas day, an entire family come in of little children who had ingested something called a psychic nut.
What?
Yes, this is particular nut. They found it on a tree outside. And, physic nut, I think it's pronounced properly.
Right.
And we had to go look it up. And because it looks almost like a plum that you could eat, and they picked the ripe one and they bit it, and they were sharing it, and it was vomiting and diarrhea. So they came in
and you said that, I remember I have a cousin, and he would probably laugh when he sees this. We were growing up, and he was probably around 9 or 10 years old, and he was home alone, and he was eating chenet, and he took it and he swallowed the chenet seed. But when we were growing up, everyone would tell you, be careful with a chenet seed. So he was older, but he panicked and he called the police. He wasn't sure what to do because he swallowed a chenet seed. But in that case, I mean, as we're a lot older now, what's the danger in that, in terms of swallowing a seed like that with a child?
It's not swallowing, it is if it goes into the lungs. So here are two tubes, one that goes into the stomach and one that goes directly into the lungs. So if it goes into the what we call the trachea, if it goes into that, people know it as the windpipe.
Your windpipe.
So if it goes into the windpipe and it sticks, then you're not going to be able to breathe properly. And then that is when they would say, they call it like you aspirate. That's what they mean when they say aspirate. It goes down into the lungs. And if that blocks out, then you can't breathe.
Then the child will choke. Also, it's more a choking thing than swallowing.
So we refer to it roughly as choking. Choking is like if it goes down into the area, going to the stomach. We roughly refer to both as a child choking,
you would say the child choking.
Like that, they're gasping for breath, but it's basically because of where and is which one of the tubes it has gone down.
Gone.
Yes.
So if a child swallows a chenet seed, a chenet tree wouldn't grow in their belly?
Not at all. Same thing like Sesame Street. Okay. If you swallow the orange seeds, you wouldn't get an orange tree. That's what I know from Sesame Street.
So you don't need to panic if the child consumes the seed and it goes into the stomach area.
No, you know eventually it will pass out.
It will pass out.
But you brought up a really important point when you said that your cousin actually called the police. And I want to bring up that I think parents should have a list of the important numbers. Fire, police, ambulance, stuck up on the fridge where anybody can see it. Because if something happens to an adult, at least the child has the number and the child can make the phone call.
Right.
So that was a really important point you brought up with your cousin, that he thought call the police, which was excellent.
And these kids these days, all of them know how to use phones. They know better than the adults how to use the phones. So if you have the numbers up, that is a great idea too, where they could go and they could access all of these emergency numbers. So that would be the first thing we would start with, is have the emergency numbers.
Have the emergency numbers.
And in terms of the ingestion, in terms of medication, I know some parents, they would have their medication out on the countertop or on the dressing table. What advice would you have with that?
You really should have it in a specific medicine cabinet. And it should be one not in an area where children can reach it easily. And don't have your medications with their medications. So sometimes children have their gummy vitamins.
Right.
So they know where it is. And then if you have your medications next to that, they will also access it. You would say that the caps are child-proof.
Right.
Sometimes they're more adult-proof than child-proof. And you have where sometimes you will get into it. I had a little one that had come in, and iron tablets. Now, you know, for the iron tablets, they coat it with a nice sugar coating. And he came in and they said he had a whole bottle. Now, iron is very toxic, right? And we actually have to try to get that iron load out. So there's certain medications we have to do. But I'm looking at this child and all of the bloods were normal. And I'm like, you sure he just didn't suck it and spit it out? They're like, no, nothing there. I said he wasn't near a window or anything. They were like, nope. Next thing you know, after we say, okay, we admitted him, the mother comes and said they find all the tablets outside the window.
So you really just
suck it and spit it out. So, you know, but there are some children who will just take everything and swallow it. And there are some medications that's a one pill, that will kill. And these are like the newer ones for diabetes medications, newer ones for the hypertension.
If a child takes one of those pills, they could die?
Because of how fast it drops sugar levels, how fast it drops their blood pressure levels. And remember, if they take it and their sugar levels drop, or if their blood pressure drops, they're going to lie down. And you're going to say, oh, he's sleeping. Not knowing
that he took a tablet.
It comes naturally to us. Unstoppable energy. We use it to manifest a future. A future where energy takes new forms and is used in new ways for all of us. The new age of energy is here.
Sugar levels drop, or if their blood pressure drops, they're going to lie down. And you're going to say, oh, he's sleeping. Not knowing
that he took a tablet. Another thing I did as a child, which could explain my behavior these days.
I think we need your mom here, you know. I really think we need mommy
I would
here.
be excited to go home to take the car key and put it in the socket. I would love to do that.
Did you ever reach up into the air? Were you trying to fly? What were you trying to do?
I don't know what. I literally got a buzz from doing it onto my mother. I wonder if she remembered that. Mommy, you remember that? I wonder if she remembered that. I was in infants. I probably was in first year or second year, and I used to go home and just put it in quickly and just get a buzz and then laugh and then run off with it. And then she found out that she was so upset. And obviously I get licked with it, and then she explained what was happening.
And that explains a lot now,
yeah,
doesn't it?
Maybe
yes,
now, maybe
yeah.
now. But what would you advise in terms of that? Because that could be dangerous.
Very dangerous. So what you need to do is to make sure if you have wall sockets, it's actually covered. So they have special covers, and you can get it from your hardware store. And once, any like Bagwin things, any one of those hardware stores will have it, and you just sort of put it in and cover it.
Okay.
Because if they access it, you're going to end up with if they put something metallic and they're not grounded, so they're just barefoot. And worse yet, if there's water around them and they stick it into the socket, they're going to get electrocuted and they can't let it go.
Right.
Yeah, so that's going to be a constant electrical current that's going to be passing through. So those are really important to have it covered.
Right.
Yeah, so that they're not going to be doing those
so
things. But not only that too, remember, we plug in our cell phones to charge. And sometimes because we've used it so long and it's bent and everything, there's exposed wire.
Right.
So you may think they're not going to interfere the socket, but they can interfere the wire and they can bite.
It, yeah.
And if they bite, that saliva is water, you're going to get electrocuted as well. So you have to really make sure your cords and everything are not where these kids can actually get
exposed. Yeah, okay. As well, I remember too, we were living in a flat house and the houses weren't burglar proofed. So the window was open and somebody came to call outside by the gate, and my sister and I playing, and I just climbed onto the windowsill and was kneeling, looking out the window to see who was outside the gate. And then my sister came with a pillow, thinking it's pillow fight, and she hit me right out, and I flew straight out the window and hit my head and bust my head. And she went in the cupboard and cried and hide because she knew licks was coming. And she spent the whole night there.
I see. You have 9 lives? How many do you have left?
I was lucky that we were in a flat house and not a 2-story house. But in terms of window access for kids, what would you advise parents?
So usually what you want to ensure is sometimes you would have like a mesh or a netting over it, even if you have the windows. Even if you're putting burglar proof. I mean, we lost 2 kids to a fire because of burglar proofing as well. And I was really amazed that my parents, when we had our house, is designed in such a way that the burglar proofing actually had gates. So it had locks where you could actually open it. And we were always told as children, these are the keys for the burglar proof. Because I did something like you. I one day went out and leaned over to say, my daddy say he not home.
Right.
You know,
You want to do it.
And after that, mommy was like, no, burglar proof. Because kids are so curious and they're so adventurous. They will find anything to climb on. You just come to the windowsill. They will find something. They will pull a bucket. They will pull a chair, push it. And the famous line of the parents, I only turn my back for 1 second. And you're talking about just falls out of a window. They're the ones where the babies are on the beds and then next thing you know, onto the ground. And they're falling as well. So all of these things is more protecting the areas. So even like if they're falling, the windows particularly, the screens, the meshes, the burglar proofing, but make sure that there is an area that you can open to come out of.
Right.
For the beds, the ones babies on the beds should not be left on a bed unattended. If they know they're going to move, you put them in the crib where they're safer, or sometimes people are like, well, we just put them, you ensure that the area around
is padded. We do that sometimes with my niece. If we know we're going to sleep with her on the bed, we will put the pillows on the ground. So even if she rolls off, she falls.
It's padded in that way. It's not ideal. Or sometimes parents just take the mattress and put it on the ground.
Right.
So if you fall, you are really far to fall. So that's like
also,
that.
I saw some parents, they would not put furniture close to a window because children tend to climb up on the furniture and then climb out the window.
But children will find a way. Curious, adventurous, all senses, they're exploring, and children have no fear. They have
because they don't know the danger that comes with it.
But that's what allows them to explore and to develop. And in the home is a place where they're going to get to do everything. And they have their love, they have care, they have their attention. And you're right, we have to make it safe for them as well.
What about strangulation? Because I know some people would mention that a cord went around the child's neck or something like that. How do we prevent against that?
Again, it's anticipation. It's looking around and seeing what are possible dangers. Like when you have a newborn and you know how to prepare, you would put plastics around here in order for them not to hit. Same way, just I talked about, if you're not charging your phone, then don't have your cord attached, because that can also wrap around.
So don't leave dangling cords.
Belts are another thing as well. Yeah, so that's another thing that can cause it. Some of us have a net hanging, the cord for the net as well. All these things, extension cords. If they're not in use, then don't have them around.
Even guiding the children as well, I found help, because when I was growing up too, my sister and I were very, very mischievous, and we played all kind of wild game. And one thing my parents, my mother for sure, always instilled of us is don't play any game where you have something around your neck. So we would, like sometimes you want to play, we would play horsey, and we saying, yeah, I'm going to lasso the horsey, and I would take a belt, and I would have the last one, I would throw it over my sister's neck, and I would pull her in like this. And we would get licks for that, because not because of the game, but because of the danger of you pulling too tight and strong.
You owe your sister plenty, boy. Lord.
I love her. But it's,
as you brought that up, the other thing is plastic bags.
Plastic bags,
because they will put it over
the head.
Yeah, and that's another thing, it suffocates. So it's telling the children as well about that. Yeah, so those are the things that you would also
But she would say with that, with the bags, with the stuff around your neck, and also with water, whenever we went out to sea or to bathe, she would always say, don't play no horseplay in the water, because we like to dunk each other down, and that kind of, who could keep their head down the longest, and so those are some of the things that you could look out for.
But just as you said, water, even things like they have these inflatable pools. People talk about having a big pool and make sure it's covered so children don't fall into it. But the inflatable pools is also something children can drown in, especially if you have a toddler. So the older kids might be all right in the pool, not for a toddler. Or if you also have a washing machine, they will think they're helping mommy. They pull a stool and they're going to help, and they look down and they fall into it. Or even a bucket. Children fall into a bucket of water and have drowned.
Right.
So all of these things, you don't leave these sorts of things as
Outside.
well around or know that the kids are there.
Yeah, so prevention is better than cure, and you don't want to have an accident in your home and you regret it in terms of you losing your child's life because you left something unattended. You left them unattended, or you just left something, just you're not thinking about it. So that's why we're here to give you all of those tips. So right now we're going to take a pause for you to get yourself back in order, to relax a little bit, where we take our mindfulness moment.
Hi, and welcome to our mindful moment. I want to talk a little bit about what happens to our brains when we feel overwhelmed. So in order to do this, I'm going to use my model of the brain in the palm of my hand. This comes from Dr. Dan Siegel. So the part of the brain that controls our emotions is called the limbic system, and there is my thumb. And this is where it really propels us to think that we're under danger. It's one of the oldest parts of the brain. And it really gets us to, into fight or flight mode. So this is when we're anxious, we feel, our heart is racing, etc. There are times where this is important, like if we're under threat, if a dog is coming to get us. But often there are times where it's activated and we feel stressed where we're not actually under direct threat. And so we need to activate the other part of the brain, the part that is folded over, and this is called the prefrontal cortex. This is the higher centers of the brain. It helps us with paying attention, with focusing, and with things like knowledge and perception. So when we feel that we're overwhelmed, we call this our brain has flipped, our lid has flipped. And breathing slowly to bring our lids back down activates the prefrontal cortex and gets us focused and paying attention in the moment. When we tell our nervous system we're not under direct threat, we can see clearly where we need to go. So remember to use this technique. When your lid is flipped, breathe the lid back down and be here now.
It's Rome, and we are here. We're chilling with the boys. We're liming with the kids. We're doing this all for the PED CARES Foundation. So we need you at home watching us to go donate, donate, donate. Head over to the pedcares.org and send that donation, whether it's via credit card, direct transfer, because we want to make sure that the kids of our pediatric emergency department get the best possible care that they can get, because we need to take care of the next generation. The future lies with the kids. You all ready? On three, we go and say yeah. 1, 2, 3. Yay! Yay! The PED CARES Foundation. And we're back from our mindfulness moment. We're here with Dr. Vidya, and she's given us all of the tips that can help in terms of safety at the home, especially when it comes to children. Dr. Vidya, when we were speaking about ingestion, there's a trend, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, where we tend to pour things out in smaller containers.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, too, in bigger containers too, because when you think there's flavor, right, ice cream in the deep freeze and you open it up and there's some yard fall season.
Right. But for me, every time I go in the freezer and I see an ice cream and I open it up, it's callaloo or it's seasoning.
Something else to that. One of the things we tend to do a lot is because you want just a little bit of something, you'll pick the smallest bottle to pour it in. And customary, we'll pour it in a soft drink bottle. We'll pour it in a water bottle. Children would love soft drink. We don't get it often. They see, oh my God, soft drink under the sink. Take it, open, drink. And the things we put in it are quite caustic. So you would put sometimes really bad insecticides. You would put Clorox bleach, not just our household one, a more industrial strength one.
Sometimes they put black disinfectant as well.
And that's one of the common ones that actually do that. And they'll think it's Coke, Pepsi. It's a black soft drink. I'm going to drink that. And this is one of the things you have to be mindful of. Is that, you know, don't if you do those things, don't put it where the children can actually reach or see it and get it.
Right.
Yeah.
And in terms of the pandemic and in terms of what we've been seeing, where we see in some cases of children now contracting the virus. And I got a couple calls of parents who are panicking because the children are contracting the virus. And we actually had 2 deaths recently with children from COVID. What about the babies? How could the parents protect the babies from getting COVID?
So we don't have vaccines approved for the babies. And when you say babies, you're speaking about the less than 1 year old?
Well, because we don't have vaccines approved for 12 and under, a lot of the parents with kids who are 12 and under who believe in the vaccine are now panicking because they're thinking, well, they could get vaccinated, but the children can't. So what do they do in that situation?
So for those children, I'll deal with it in 2. I'll deal with the ones that are 2 years and under, because with the 2 years and under, there is the protection from breastfeeding, breast milk.
Okay.
Because if the mothers have been vaccinated, then you have where those antibodies can also be expressed into the breast milk, and therefore the baby, when breastfeeding, will have a certain element of protection. The other thing mostly for this age group would be to practice the 3 W's, you know, the sort of healthcare measures we have where you wash your hands, you wear your mask, you watch your distance.
Oh, how are you doing that at home with your children?
Well, actually, we do recommend that even if a mother who is breastfeeding, let's say, for example, and is COVID positive, but she's not having any symptoms, that she can wear her mask and breastfeed the baby.
Right.
If, however, she becomes symptomatic, she can express or pump the breast milk, and then another relative can actually give the infant the breast milk.
So if a mother has COVID, she can't pass COVID to the child through the breast milk?
No, you cannot pass the virus through the breast milk. What you can pass is, because even if she was not vaccinated and she contracted the virus, her body's producing antibodies against it. So those are good things, and those good antibodies can actually be in the breast milk and will pass to the baby to give the baby protection as well. So that's where you would encourage the breastfeeding. Yeah. So it's twofold. Yes, if a mother has it, the baby can get the virus, but at the same time can also get the protection through the antibodies.
So that's under 2. What about over 2?
Over 2, again, if anyone is sick or anyone is unwell, please do not go around elderly or even the children. There's no kissing on the face, you know, oh my God, everybody loves to do those things. It's Trinidad.
Oh, you're so cute!
And you pinch in the face,
Right,
everything like that,
right.
touching. Because you don't touch face, everything where they're most likely to get it. And you wear your mask, you wash your hands, yeah, and you watch your distance. We are watching our distance at this point in time as well. So this is just that, and is that respect that you want to get? Because yes, people are like, oh, the children shouldn't be getting the virus, but the children can get the virus. Yes, some of them will be able to handle it better than others. Yes, the kids might be sick for a little while and then get better. Yeah, but they are not all kids are the same. And you have ones that can get the virus and will be unwell because they have certain comorbidities.
And before we wrap up, because we have to go, but you told me that you have a son, and he's how old?
10 years.
And would you be willing to give him the vaccine if the vaccine is approved?
Yes. I wanted to make sure, is there any way I could give it to him now?
Right.
And the reason is because he has had 2 episodes in his life where he has had myocarditis. And with that, it was similar, very similar. And you want to give them as much protection as you can. And I would give it to him because I don't want to see him go through what he did 2 times before. And he asked me, he said, do I have to go through this every year? And I don't want that for him. So I will vaccinate him.
We heard it once again from Dr. Vidya. Thank you very much for joining us and giving us all of this information. So those of you with kids in the house, I hope you learned something today. This has been Homefront at the Dwellings. Or let's see, we dwelling in luxury. Thank you very much to Dwellings and to the PED CARES Foundation. You all head over to the website and keep donating as we're doing this for the kids. My name is Rome. Thanks for joining us.
Vision, expertise, world-class operations. These are the pillars on which the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago Limited, NGC, has built its legacy as a world-renowned natural gas player and titan of Caribbean energy. NGC has operations and investments along the gas value chain and sits at the helm of a flagship group of energy businesses with a globalizing footprint. National Energy Corporation of Trinidad and Tobago Limited owns and manages industrial estates, ports, and marine infrastructure, as well as facilitates the local and regional development of energy-based industries. Another subsidiary, Labre Industrial Development Company Limited, known as Labidco, facilitates industrial estate management, port operations, waste management, warehousing, and logistic services in support of the energy services sector. Phoenix Park Gas Processors Limited, or PPGPL, owns one of the largest state-of-the-art cryogenic gas processing plants in the region, as well as NGL marketing assets in North America. NGC CNG Company Limited promotes the use of compressed natural gas or CNG in the domestic transportation sector and supports expansion of related technologies and infrastructure. Through a burgeoning portfolio of green agenda investments, NGC and its subsidiaries are now transitioning into a future built on clean energy. We are the NGC Group, an integrated energy company, a model for prosperity.